Hey everyone, it's Rob Ryder. It's Sunday, March 24th, 2019. Today, U.S. veteran, that would be me, versus traitors of the United States. Well, that would be them. Docket number 19-1910, which is on the United States Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims website. And so, basically I filed a claim into the United States Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. And this is kind of a on-running narrative for me, having to do with any number of videos, but we just went back to the last four. So, I did a video on the American Legion, missing in action, because the American Legion has a charter from Congress, but for it to have its powers under that charter, it has to have in every state agent registered with the Secretary of State to receive process and demands. Well, they haven't done that. And in the Constitution, it says that the national headquarters shall be in Indianapolis, Indiana, da 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 da. Well, they don't have any listings in Indiana for the American Legion. They got all sorts of shit for things with, longer names, but not the American Legion, which is the thing that was chartered by Congress. Well, so then I went from that and I went on to volunteers to be an American National with the Red Cross, because if you volunteer or you become a member of the Red Cross, you would now be a member of the American National Red Cross, and it's protected by a peace treaty. And so the belligerents shouldn't be able to belliger you out here in America the way that they do with their simulated legal processes and so forth and so on. So I was working on those things. And then a couple weeks ago, boom, I got stopped and got a ticket. Ticket to ride with plate with no name. And I drive around in a car with a plate that has SAMPL, sample, got it from the Secretary of State. Talk all about it in the video. I got a ticket, did some things, and that's what I own City of Greenville was about, doing these things to try to take care of the ticket. But all that with the ticket and shit was just kind of got in the way, because what I had wanted to do was, do something to move ahead things like my veterans appeal and to get somebody arrested. That's my other big thing. Right? I want to have somebody arrested for not following the laws of the United States. And the day I can do that is the day that they'll stop. So I'm going to talk about all these things in this video, and break away from one subject for a minute and go talk about another one, because it'll be time for me to talk about it and so forth and so on. And, so I'm just pre-warning you that this is going to travel all over, and I don't know if you could really catch it all if you're trying to do four other things, right? You really need to pay attention. So anyways, let's just start at the beginning, and we'll get to all these other subjects having to do with the ticket that I got and what I did and where it is, and trying to do things with the Red Cross. Oh, see, the Red Cross also now, the American National Red Cross is violating its charter, because it has one also. And it's not only a federal corporation, it's a body corporate and politic. So it's like a city. It's a municipality. And that's what we need. We're not a member of any association, freely associated as American nationals, to establish our nationality in the United States, because the United States is these federal corporations. In 28 U.S.C. 3002 definitions, United States, which is like number 39 or something, I think, right? It defines what the United States is. And it says, is a federal corporation, is a instrumentality, is like three different things. Well, the Red Cross is both an instrumentality, because it's part of the sanitation service of the armed forces, whether they know it or not. And and then so there's all these little interties. It's like, well, okay, now how am I going to use that? Because I can't use that locally. I got, this is all federal stuff. One nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Well, it came to me, well, hey, this is the United States Court of Appeals for veterans claims, and it doesn't really say what a veterans claim is. It just says for veterans claims. So I said, well, I'm a veteran. I can claim all sorts of things. One of them being the fact that my request for individual unemployability had been denied on a denial that didn't have my full legal name on it. It didn't have anybody else's name, didn't have any signature block. Came in an envelope that said it was being sent first class mail, but it hadn't been canceled. There's no barcode on it. There's nothing. Right? So it's like, well, that's mail fraud as far as I'm concerned. I got things to complain about. I'm going to put my complaint in here. And so I did. And for veterans, hey, this is the place, right? United States Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. You may want to look into it. And I'll show you why. But this thing has a docket. Where's the docket? Search, there's docket. And if you were to go to the docket and put in 19-1910 for party and hit search, well, hey, there it is. Robert A. Rutluski versus Robert L. Wilkie. Now, right off the bat, I'm not really happy that we have middle initials, but I am happy they made a record. And I'll work on getting that corrected because, that's not my full legal name. But this is evidence that this is now in the United States of America, not in the United States. Because everybody is in the United States of America. We have somehow given up our nationality in the United States. And we're in the United States of America, which is actually a kingdom of King George III and his successors. It says so in the Treaty of Peace, 1783. So, the United States of America isn't the same as the United States of America. And neither of those are necessarily United States, but we use all these different terms, and I'm going to show you how all that comes about. But, so this was easy enough to do. I filed a petition, put on that I needed a declaration of financial hardship. That's what they call it here. And hey, I got my petition on, petition for extraordinary relief. So this is some background of, where we're going to head now with a few definitions and what things say. And, before I go any further, just so I can make sure I have said it. What I'm going to tell you applies to any Article 1 court, right? And these are all Article 1 tribunals. Right? Now, I didn't say this. They said it. And I'm going to show you where they said it. And because of what it said, what we can use it for. All right, Article 1, tribunals. The District of Columbia Judiciary. Hey, that would be the Superior Court of the District of Columbia. Wow, no wonder you can do the things there you can. The D.C. Court of Appeals. Right, veterans claims. Well, hey, there's veterans claims. There's armed forces. On and on and on and on and on. And I can't hardly wait to get to it. So, the United States Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, in case citations, Vet App, is a federal court of record that was established under Article 1 of the United States Constitution and is thus referred to as Article 1 tribunal. That would be called a court. The court has exclusive national jurisdiction to provide independent federal judicial oversight and review of final decisions of Board of Veterans Appeals. So, there's a couple of things there. First of all, it's a tribunal. It's not a court. And that makes a difference, right? Go look up the definition of tribunal instead of court and see what the difference is. And, well, you'll know why they're different. They're different words. They got different definitions. But this is a tribunal. I say tribunals are ecclesiastic. Courts are courts of law. But a tribunal could be justice of the peace. So back in the day, the township supervisors in Michigan were justices of the peace. And if you had to answer for something, you went down to your justice of the peace. Well, now instead of doing that, like I got this ticket, I'm not going to my township. They want me to go to this court over in Montcalm County, which is, the next county over. It's like, well, that's not where I live. It's a state of Michigan forum. I should be going to my court, so forth and so on. So this court, well, this has jurisdiction over the entire United States. And it was established under the Article 1 of the Constitution. So 28 U.S. Code 1651 writs says the Supreme Court and all courts established by Act of Congress, well, that would be the United States Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims or any other Article 1 court, may issue all writs necessary or appropriate in aid of their respective jurisdictions and agreeable to the usages and principles of law. So I'm saying, hey, AKA, that's a court of chancery, because they're the ones that give you the original writ. And so, right, when you go to get the writ, you're applying for a writ, and the court gives you a writ. But the court that gives out the writ was the court of chancery in England, because it was the place where you got your original writ. You would take them your issue, and then they would issue a writ. So, B, though, an alternative writ or rule nisi may be issued by a justice or judge of a court which has jurisdiction. And so that could be like a writ that's going to be cure in 10 days, right? Either do this in 10 days or we're going to issue the writ and whatever's going to happen is going to happen, right? So now it gives the respondent time to cure your complaint without the court needing to issue the writ. Like order to show cause. So all these things can happen in these Article 1 courts. It's like, oh, cool. So the thing to take them is take them a writ. Or ask for a writ. And, there's many kinds of writs. But some of them are called prerogative writs or writs of the king and so forth and so on, like a writ of mandamus or a writ of quo warranto or prohibition, so forth and so on. Or you don't even need to give it a name. They'll just, write up the remedy that it takes to take care of the problem that you brought to them, because there is no statute that takes care of the issue. So it's almost like getting private legislation. It is like getting private legislation. It's your own bill. Anyways, the Act in its original form was part of the Judiciary Act of 1789, so it's as old as the country. The current form of the Act was first passed in 1911. The Act has been amended several times since, but it has not changed significantly in substance since 1789. In other words, they can still do it. They can issue all the writs. So, one form of writ is a warrant. A warrant is generally an order that serves a specific type of authorization. That is, a writ issued by a competent officer, usually judge or magistrate, which permits any otherwise illegal act that would violate individual rights and affords the person executing the writ protection from damages if the act is performed. So I want to have an arrest warrant issued. And I want to have these United States judges at the Court of Appeals who have the power to issue the paperwork, because they just read that they do, to do it in accordance with 18 U.S. Code 3041, Powers of Courts and Magistrates. For any offense against the United States, the offender may, by any justice or judge of the United States, or by any United States magistrate judge, or by a chancellor, judge, Supreme Court, chief first judge of common pleas, mayor of a city, justice of the peace, or other magistrate, that could be the clerk of the court, or any of any state where the offender may be found, and at the expense of the United States, be arrested and imprisoned or released as provided in Chapter 207 of this title. And it goes on with some more, but, well, there you are. So, well, who's at this court? A United States judge. They got a bunch of them. Well, then according to this law, they have the authority to issue an arrest warrant, as a writ, because it's just a form of a writ. So that's what I need to ask for, petition for a writ. That's what we did. And hey, my email, Rob Ryder, is courtofrecord@aol.com, courtofrecord@aol.com. My phone number is 616-712-6179. And before we get any deeper into this, if you have the ability, would you please donate or pay it forward or call it charity? Whatever makes it, palatable to help a brother out. And send it to the PayPal account, Rob Ryder, ROBBRYDER, @AOL.com. Or if you want to use a credit card, debit card, you can send me an email to robryder@AOL.com with the amount of the donation, and I'll send you a piece of paper through PayPal that's a request for that amount of money. Or you can just put it in the mail to Robert Allen Ratluski, 10955 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341-8664. I got to pay rent in a week, so I want to thank everybody who has donated. It's been wonderful, 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 and I was able to pay my last month's rent, get caught up a bit, but I don't quite have enough for this month yet. So help a brother out. Okay, so here's some things that we need to know. A civil action. If you look at what it says in the federal rules of civil procedure, or in some of these specialty courts, these Article 1 courts, right? Because almost all of these courts have their own website, similar to the United States Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, like there's the United States Court of Appeals for Armed Forces, which is one we'll be looking closer at also. Not so much in the military ones, but in the other ones, they talk about a civil action, right? That there's one form of action. It's a civil action. Well, what is a civil action? Has been defined as, and this comes out of 1 Corpus Juris, page 924, apparently. I got it off of Wikipedia or something, but right? The legal demand of one's rights or rights. The lawful demand of one's rights or rights. The lawful demand of one's rights in the form given by law. The demand of a right in a court of justice. The lawful demand of one's rights in a court of justice. The legal and formal demand of one's rights from another person or party made and instead insisted on in a court of justice. A claim made before a tribunal. A claim made before a tribunal. So, if you're making a claim in an Article 1 court, it's a civil action. So as you can see, it's demands and claims, right? On and on and on. And it went on to say, in this case, the proceeding instituted in this case by petition partakes of all the essential elements of a civil action. And it's the mere fact that it's a petition, right? This is the thing. It's the form of the action. It's a petition. And on a petition, right, you're the petitioner and somebody's a respondent. It isn't, necessarily plaintiff and defendant. That's a different form. So by the mere fact that you do a petition can get you into the proper procedures for that form of action. And that's what a civil action is. It's a form of action for a legal demand on one's rights or rights. And demand, according to Lord, is, well, first of all, it's a claim, a legal obligation, right? Lord Coe says that demand is a word of art and of an extent in its signification greater than any other word except claim. Right? So first there's claim, and its first derivative is a demand. But the higher order is the claim. So if you're putting in a claim, well, then you put in a demand. Right? This is just it's the way English law works. I can argue with it. So what is a petition? An instrument of writing or printing containing a prayer. You pray in the courts of chancery from the person presenting it, called the petitioner, to the body or person to whom it is presented for the redress of some wrong or a grant of some favor which the later has the right to give. So this isn't judicial, this is administrative, right? We're not making a judicial determination. We're asking for something somebody has the authority to give and asking them to give it. Or take care of this wrong for me. That's, what, according to their own definitions, well, that's what you can do in an Article 1 court. You can ask for a writ. By a Constitution of the United States, the right to petition the government for redress of grievances is secured by the people. And what court was that? That's actually what they say in there. It was the Court of Federal Claims. Where are you? Where's the Court of Federal Claims? I know you're in here. Yeah, United States Court of Federal Claims. They say on their website that that's, their purpose for being is to cover that part of the, is that in the Bill of Rights? Maybe it is. Where is it? That says to petition the redress of grievances. Is that in Article 1? I don't remember exactly where it is, but I know it's in there. I can find it, and that's the way my mind works. I don't remember all this stuff off the top of my head, but I know where to go find it. Anyways, to petition the government for redress of grievances. That's what these Article 1 courts are for. Petitions are frequently presented to the courts in order to bring some matters before them. It is a general rule in such cases that an affidavit should be made that the facts therein contained are true as far as known to the petitioner, and that those facts which he states as knowing from others he believes to be true. There's a lot to say, but the next one is petition of right, which is when the crown is in possession or any title is vested in it which is claimed by the subject, like your Social Security account, like your American national status, big things. As no suit can be brought against the king, right, against the Constitution, in our case, that's the king, the subject is allowed to file in chancery a petition of right to the king, so that the king can do him right. And so it isn't, again, this isn't judicial, this is administrative. Ask for it. Ask and it shall be given. This is in the nature of an action against a subject to which the petitioner sets out his rights, which is demanded by him. We need to read all that. Now, the other thing is there's a thing called a petition of right. And that's a major English constitutional document that sets out the specific liberties of the subject that the king is prohibited from infringing, passed on 7 June 1628. The petition contains restrictions on non-parliamentary taxation, forcibility of soldiers, imprisonment without cause. It's happened to a few people now, hasn't it? And the use of martial law. Why is that important? Well, we're under martial law right now. Martial rule, call it what you want. That's what the gold fringe flag in the courtroom is. That's an army flag. AR 840-10 will tell you that flag flies in military courtrooms. It don't fly no place in the public. No. You see a gold fringe flag, that's an army flag. It's not a Navy flag. The Navy ain't got gold fringe in their flags. Anyways, what they just described in the petition of rights, we could call our Bill of Rights, right? These certain rights that they just can't go around, such as, you're supposed to be secure in your persons, papers, houses, and effects from searches and seizures. Well, if they're not using your name, then you're not secure in your person. And if they're not using their name, in a court case, like, they use their full legal name, they're using the middle initial or whatever the hell they're using, well, then you're not secure in your papers, houses, or effects because somebody that you don't know, a John Doe by name, is going to take your property. Okay, so we have all these things we know. Now, there's one more thing to know. 18 U.S.C. 371 provides that if two or more persons conspire either to commit any offense against the United States or to defraud the United States or any agency thereof in a manner or for any purpose, and one or more of the persons do any act to effect the object of the conspiracy, each shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 5 years or both. If, however, the offense, the commission of which is the object of the conspiracy, is a misdemeanor only, well, then you only get the punishment of a misdemeanor. You can only go to jail for a year, but your ass is gone. If you conspire against the United States, well, then there's a law, right? Conspiracy, you can go to jail. Now, how has that been defined by, the United States Attorney's Manual? Summarizing case law on the statute states that, in summary, those activities which courts have held defraud the United States under 18 U.S.C. 371 affect the government in at least one of three ways. They cheat the government out of money or property, they interfere or obstruct with legitimate government activity, or they make wrongful use of a government instrumentality. Now, the Red Cross is a government instrumentality, and it's supposed to have a cabinet council made up of members of the cabinet as oversight to what they're doing. And they haven't been created. And now the Red Cross is supposed to be under the Comptroller General. Well, how come he hasn't done anything about it? Right? But most of these individuals are supposed to be in that board have to come out of the DOD. Right? They're military people because that's supposed to be, the Red Cross is supposed to be the American National Red Cross, or the American Red Cross, not just Red Cross, American Red Cross, or the American National Red Cross, and not just American National Red Cross. It's all in the names, right? You have to go look at it, the American National Red Cross. That they're supposed to be the liaison between the people of the United States and the military. And they have severed that connection. Well, that's a wrongful use of a government instrumentality, and you're interfering with the legitimate government activity. Red Cross. So I'm going to send the military, come talk to you. Lord, let that happen. Okay, so that's kind of the game plan, right? Was, okay, I'm going to open a case. Back to the beginning, I'm going to open a case, and I'm going to appeal the fact that my unemployability claim had been denied, and the way it was denied. And I'm going to say it wasn't a claim, it was a crime. I'm not really appealing the claim because there was never a claim. My claim was concealed, and instead it's a crime, and I want an arrest warrant issued. Because you can do it, and I'm a veteran, I'm putting in my claim. I'm going to make it work my way until they say I can't do it that way. As far as I'm concerned, I can. All right, because the Supreme Court and all courts established by Act of Congress. Well, that would mean then all the district courts can't do it because they're not the Supreme Court and they weren't established by an Act of Congress. right? You got to be an Article 1 court or an Article 4 court. But the only Article 3 court that can do it is a Supreme Court. Oh, that's one other thing, just before I forget, because there's all sorts of these. You should go look at some of these different tribunals, right? But this United States Court of International Trade, right? That's an Article 3 court. It's not only specialty courts that has jurisdiction over international trade. And, well, whether you like it or not, the United States of America and United States of America aren't the same venue. They're foreign to each other. So it's international. The United States of America is run out of the city of London. That's the king's property. He called the colonies United States of America. They called them, the colonies called themselves the colonies. But he called them United States of America. Go figure. Well, that's not the same as United States. It's not the same as the United States of America. So if you look at your money, at the top it says the United States of America. But if you look at a passport, it says United States of America, without the being even on there. They're definitely two different venues. And so it's a really twisty-turny system they've put together, schemed by people that are very, very clever. But once it's been done, they have to live with the consequences. That's my belief. So we get to use what they built against them, just like Jesus said we could. Okay, hang on just a second, and I'll reload some stuff. Okay, just so I can say that I talked about this. In the Uniform Code of Military Justice, it says, persons subject to this chapter. And it goes through and names the people you would think of, people in the military, those have been discharged, awaiting expiration of their terms, cadets, members of the reserves, so forth and so on, prisoners of war in custody of the armed forces. In time of war, persons serving with or accompanying an armed forces in the field. Well, that would be the Red Cross. See, because they're part of the sanitary services. And we are at war right now, so said Lindsey Graham and Justice Kavanaugh during Kavanaugh's confirmation hearings. Right? We call it the laws of armed conflict, call it whatever you want. We're at war. And it's a domestic war, so hey, the armed forces are here, and we're in the field. Subject to treatment of an agreement to which the United States is or may be a party. Da-da-da. But then we get all done with A, and we go to B, right? So that's anybody in A is. And then in B it says, the voluntary enlistment of any person who has the capacity to understand the significance of enlisting in the armed forces shall be valid for purposes of jurisdiction under subsection A, and a change of status from civilian to a member of the armed forces shall be effective upon taking of the oath of enlistment. So any enlisted veteran, hey, you're under the UCMJ. You're protected by it. Right? So this is my point. We get to go use these Article 1 courts. Like there's a criminal court for the military. There's the appeals court for the armed forces. There's the veterans court. And these all have these Article 1 judges that can issue arrest warrants. Right? Maybe we can get something done. So that's really, I want to make sure I'd shown that, right? It's right out of the UCMJ. So, hey, if you're on the Red Cross, you're under the UCMJ. Okay, so now, what else was going on? Okay, so now about the ticket. Well, this is the ticket, first of all, in case you didn't see it when I had done this video. I got that says a State of Michigan Uniform Law Citation, has a ticket number, right? And so it had these 6 different errors that I pointed out in the complaint that I sent back, or my counteroffer, which is in the video I did, videos. And you're just going to have to go watch those if you want to know more about that part of it. But you see right here, it says appearance date. First of all, this is a state form, State of Michigan form, right? And it says appearance date. On or before 3/14/2019 at 8 a.m. Well, that's when the cop told me to be at court, on 3/14, right? Well, this is saying if I'm not there before 8 a.m., then I didn't appear. And it's in its own box, right? It has nothing to do with the box down here where it has this court address and phone number, right? There's just more information on the paper. No, it's up here, right? It doesn't have contact court, formal hearing required. No. Juvenile traffic, misdemeanor, no. Hearing, but he told me I had to be, at court in Montcalm County, 64B District Court, 3/14/2019. So I knew that was wrong because it's like, well, this 64B District Court is, in a county. I'm in Kent County. I'm not in their county, right? If this is a state form, State of Michigan Uniform Law Citation, then I should be going to my court. I don't need to go all the way to a local court. It's a state issue. But as you look at this thing, it says local ordinances. Didn't post any state law being violated, and it doesn't give any proper citations of, these down here, this 257.301. If it said MCL 257.301, well, that's a proper citation of a Michigan compiled law, but it doesn't say that. And the city of Greenville doesn't have any ordinances with these numbers on it, and it's just, the things that got more errors and errors and errors and errors and errors. So what I did is I went back to them immediately, right? I didn't wait for court. I didn't wait for them to have a court case. I went immediately and wrote them a bitch letter, which I shared in the video. And then since then, I wrote a couple of more bitch letters, and now we're at where we're at today. And to be honest with you, I don't know, because I didn't call the court. You can't see it online. So my point is, okay, I was supposed to have a hearing, and I didn't go, but I wrote these letters. Now, if they were going to arrest me, well, then there should be a warrant. I should be able to go online and find the warrants. But Montcalm County doesn't show any warrants. Then I should be able to see if there's a court case against me, right? This ticket should have been turned into a court case. Well, they don't show any court cases online. It's a real small county. So, I don't really know quite yet. And I didn't want to pay to have it figured out. But if you want to know, well, go ahead and find out for me. Right? Robert Allen Ritluski. How about it, TJ? Go find out if Robert Allen Ritluski's got a warrant against him in Montcalm County. Right, go pay for it. 64B District Court, Montcalm County. Somebody find out if there's been a warrant issued. I'd like to know, but I don't want to pay for it. And I didn't just want to talk to them and have them tell me. I want somebody else to do it and find out, right? I need a witness. Well, that I can't afford it. Okay, so that's what I did. But what I did after I wrote this first letter to them is I wrote this one. God, I write too much. This was to the public safety director, right? Director Ma Girl. The employees under your authority are issuing simulated legal processes under color of law in offense to the laws of the United States. Stop now. They did not sign up to be enemies of the people of the United States, and yet that is what they have become. Repent, director, and return to the Lord. You guys need to stop doing that. See, I'm not blaming the cop on the street. He's doing what he was told. Now, he better not do it again. But, right? The people that send them out are the ones that have them do these tickets. And there isn't anything legal about the ticket they gave me. In fact, where is that thing? Look at, even on the ticket, compliance, voluntary. It says on the ticket, you got voluntary to comply. Well, I don't want to comply with this piece of paper that wasn't done right because they failed to state a claim. And that's what I want to say before I forget. So now Dana, a guy I've been helping up in Kalkaska, right? Every case starts with a ticket. Now, depending on what they charge you with, they may have to write like a misdemeanor complaint. And they had to do that in Dana's case. But in his case, the complaint hasn't been signed by a complainant and it wasn't witnessed by a judge. So it hasn't been done right. And we've made all sorts of noise in this court case. And, I think he's going to get one of these. Well, he's already found not guilty once for the felony side of it, but they're still doing the misdemeanor side. This whole thing has been done ass backwards. They're not following any freaking sense, but nevertheless, they're not going to find him guilty. I mean, he's going to be told he's not guilty, but they're going to run it to the end. Or he's going to be told he's not guilty, case closed, like they did Rosita. So, but he showed my point of that was he showed his misdemeanor complaint. Now pay attention now. Pay attention. Hey, listen now. You already have a court case going. This is what Dana was told. File a motion into the court asking the case be dismissed per Rule 12B for failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. Because it isn't done right. There is nothing on here that you can grant relief to. That's what a paralegal told him when he looked at he had never seen a complaint before. But he's looking at the complaint and says, well, you need to file a 12B motion for failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. Wouldn't that be the easy answer? File a motion. If you have a court case, just go file a motion in your court case asking that the case be dismissed for failure to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. And I don't care what kind of court case it is. Just go put it in. You need to do two things, I think, as these things come to my head that I want to talk about, is you need to file into the court a praecipe with whatever it is that you want the clerk to do. So I'm going to show you here in a bit when we get to these forms that I found a form where it's a praecipe telling the clerk to file somebody's appearance into the case for the defendant. Well, if you look at the name of the defendant, it's not your name. It would be your name backwards, or it's some et al. Or something else, right? So then you're going to file yourself in your full legal name into the case as the appearing for the defendant. So this is the first thing. We're not appearing properly. That's how you properly appear, is you file a praecipe to the clerk and tell them to file your appearance. Well, Dana had been told when we were trying to put his baptismal certificate into the court case, the clerk said to that one, says, well, what do you want me to do with this? He says, well, I want you to file it as an exhibit. And she said, well, you need to put a cover sheet on whatever it is you're giving us and tell us what you want us to do with it. That's what a praecipe is. Right? So you need to do, number one, do a praecipe saying that you're appearing for the defendant, whatever the name of the defendant is, right? In that court case, however it gets filled out, we'll look at it in a second. But you're going to appear in your full legal name for the defendant. Okay, so now you've made your appearance. And then file a motion for a 12B dismissal because they failed to state a claim upon which relief can be granted. You just go look up 12B in the federal civil procedures. So, but on that then, you can't just, so the point is you can't just give them the motion, a piece of paper says motion. Then you need to put another piece of paper, cover sheet, praecipe, P-R-A-E-C-I-P-E, praecipe. Dear clerk, please file this motion into the court case. Something along those lines. I mean, this is the thing is, well, what would that need to be like? But you got to put, so hopefully Dana can go talk to this paralegal again, or somebody go talk to a paralegal. Hey, what's the paper you put on the front of your motion to have the court pay attention to? Okay, so I forget where I was with this, but those are just things that are happening. See, I'm doing mine during the 14 days when I first got the ticket, but most people are already in court. What do? Go file a motion. File an appearance with the clerk, praecipe, then file a motion with a praecipe on it, telling the clerk to file it as a motion. And ask if there's any fees for filing a motion. That's the other thing. Is there a fee? Because if you're not paying a fee, I've seen that there's motion fees to be paid. If you're not paying a fee, then you didn't file a motion. Right? You just can't stick the shit in the window and say, I gave him a motion. No, you didn't. You just put it in the clerk's window. But if you didn't pay the motion fee and there's motion fees, well, then it ain't a motion. Where's your receipt to show that you filed a motion? And I found that. Anyways, I don't think I'm going to read all these. So I wrote him again. That's what I did. And I wrote one more that and it isn't even so much what I wrote. It's just as I was writing it, the things I was thinking of. That when you think about how your county is set up, right, this is a state of Michigan uniform law citation. Okay. Well, the state of Michigan is broke up into counties, like County of Montcalm. Got it. The county, then the county is broken up into townships. Okay. And in Michigan, the townships were the local governmental structure that was set up, the township structure. These 6x6 squares, and everyone's got a township hall in it, and the guy that sits there as the township supervisor used to be, until 1968, he was a justice of the peace. But now he isn't. Well, what happened? Right? Well, a couple things happened. In the late 60s, they had this thing going on down in Midland, Texas, where the city of Midland is in one part of the county, and then everything else is like, just farmland or whatever. And they had 5 commissioners, and one commissioner, well, he was over all of the city of Midland, Texas, and then the rest of them were fairly rural. Well, if 3 of those rural commissioners could agree on something to get, to write legislation to have, the bill pushed off on the city of Midland residents, well, that's what they would do, right? And they would take the benefit in their part of the county and put the bill on the people in his county, and that became a big issue. And they decided to go to one man, one vote type structure. That was all what they did. And long story short, they got rid of township supervisors, creating a board of supervisors, and they went to county commissioners, creating a county commissioners board. So my county is broken up into, 16, 17, 20 districts. Mine's the 4th district. Right? That's who I should go to for something to do with the state, because that's that person replaced my township supervisor, who used to be a justice of the peace. And you would go to the township hall to answer for whatever, claim had been made against you. I don't have to go to Montcalm. So I haven't really done this yet, but I'm going to get a hold of my township supervisor. Actually, what I'm going to try to do is get an arrest warrant issued. Then I'll go talk to my township supervisor, right? Because I'm really tired of talking to these people without any way of making them do anything. The point is, that's the person that should be my local representative to the state of Michigan, right? My local government. And have her find out what's going on with this thing, right? That's who you were supposed to appear before this date of the 14th. I was supposed to appear, in my opinion, before my uh, district commissioner for the county. And when they sit together, see, this is the difference now. When they all sit together, that is as a board of county commissioners. And there they have their legislative hat on. But when they sit separately as district commissioners, they have another office, administrative. And that's really what these, it's no different than these congressional courts are. Article 1 courts, they're legislative courts. Right? This other one would be a state legislature court, and the federal ones are the federal legislature court. So, okay, hang on just a second. Okay, so some few months ago now, I did a couple of videos. One was called Veterans Entitled Domestic Peacemakers. If you're a veteran, you might want to write that down or just interested in this stuff. And then unemployability is not a four-letter word. And in those, I was showing that I was going to be filing for my initial veterans disability claim and then try to have it bumped up to be unemployability because I've decided I don't meet the definition that they've set for substantially gainful employment. Right? I cannot maintain substantially gainful employment because by definition, to maintain substantially gainful employment, you have to be non-disabled. It's in the definition of substantially gainful employment. So I can't do that. Right? You just said if you say I have a disability, then I do. So I can never be non-disabled again. I guess I'll have to take the unemployability rating. Well, I didn't expect them to agree with me at the low level, but I had to do it to, get to where I am today, and so that's where we are. But that's the background behind that. So where are we today? We'll get to that in a second, too. One more thing I had to point out. Cheapers. Okay. So this is again out of the UCMJ. Jurisdiction to try certain personnel. No person who has deserted from armed forces may be relieved from amenability to the jurisdiction of this chapter by virtue of separation from later period of service. So right now they have everybody in the United States, men for sure, maybe the same with females, with ladies, right? That we all have the same, most of y'all do, defect, and that you've been given a 1H status from the selective service system. And it doesn't matter if you've served in the military or not because the systems aren't connected. They don't talk to each other. But what they're doing is they're giving everybody a 1H status and a 1A or classification. And a 1H classification means you're not available for 1A, which means you're not available for the militia. And this is all proved. I'm just going to do this now, and then we'll get back to the other part. Sorry if I'm confusing you. I had a lot to talk about. It's all interesting stuff, so, here's some more interesting stuff. This is what happened to Obama, right? Selective service records. Somebody did a Freedom of Information Act request and got some stuff back, and then they asked a question, and now they're getting a reply back, and it said, the 1H status assigned to him at the time was not, strictly speaking, a classification. Selective Service has not classified registrants since the draft ended in the mid-70s. However, since that time, 1H has been assigned to everyone as a catch-all classification. It was not assigned to Mr. Obama as a result of any action on his part, and there is no related documentation. The formal description of 1H is registrant not currently subject to processing for induction or alternative service. It's just part of the definition. So, at the end of the day, they made everybody a 1H. You had nothing to do with it. There is no paperwork to substantiate why they did it. They just did it. They made everybody a 1H, which means you're not a 1A. And therefore, you're not available for the draft and you're a deserter. You don't have to have a draft. You're just not available if there was one. Now, actually, these two go together here. This is the card that was filled out at the time. By somebody's President Obama, Barack Hussein. Right? He did it right. Last name. They told you where to put it, so you put it where it goes, right? Now, you never have a middle name, though, right? This is me. I would say it's Robert Allen. Put it on this line. I'm not doing anything in middle name. I've talked about that enough other times, but you can see he put an address and he put a phone number and, he did this stuff here. But when they, did their thing and they created this record to send to somebody, it didn't show that he had a permanent address. And it doesn't have a phone number. And it gave him a 1H. So it's like, well, we don't really know where he is. Sometimes he's at this current address. Well, not anymore. It's been erased, but we don't know what his permanent address is. And we don't have a phone number for him. We don't have any way to get a hold of him. And all of these are things that you needed to do as part of the registration according to the Selective Service Registration Act. So somebody in the background is fucking up the records. And they did it to everybody. I don't care if you're a sergeant major in the Army today, your record at Selective Service shows that you're a 1H. So yeah, I'm a little bit upset with the system, you can imagine. All right, so, but they did it to everybody. I'm trying to undo that stuff. And that brought us to this. Okay, well, what can you do? Where's those rules? Here's the rules. So, United States Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. Rules of practice and procedures, right? All this stuff is right offline, and so without spending a lot of time on all this, one I was interested in after I found it was extraordinary relief, which is Rule 21. Petition, service, content, and filing. Extraordinary relief from the court may only be sought by filing a petition with the clerk with proof of service, the respondents, the secretary, if not a respondent, and any other party in interest. The petition shall. Now, having looked at this now, I should have put United States of America down there as another party of interest. Served it on them somehow. Like I say, I was by giving it to the court. I'm serving the United States, and I'm going to give it to the court. So anyways, here's the rules. And what it says to do is you put together a caption on a separate page. Right? Something like this. Petition for extraordinary relief, United States Court of Veterans Claims. At the time, I didn't have a docket number, right? Because I'm just putting it in. I put me in as the petitioner. Versus Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Robert. I didn't know his middle name at the time. I wish I'd taken the time and got it. I had to put it in there. And then United States Department of Veterans Affairs et al. Well, I could have put United States also. Put them all down there. And so this is kind of just following a format that's in the book, right, in the rules book. And then you get down to the part about putting in your petition. And so mine was Robert Allen Rutluski, the petitioner, versus Robert Wilkie, Secretary of Veterans Affairs, United States Department of Veterans Affairs et al., respondent, RE, petition for extraordinary relief. And in this thing, it kind of gives you a format to follow, right? State the precise relief, state the facts, state the reasons, state. Right? So that's what I did. Okay, state this precise relief sought. So the petitioner seeks one, order granting individual unemployability rating for service-connected disability and retroactive pay for all time periods petitioner was unable to secure and retain substantially gainful employment by reason of disability, as well as other factors. And number two, warrants of arrest for offenses against the United States. State the facts necessary to understand the issues presented by the petition. On 11/16/2018, petitioner applied to the United States Department of Veterans Affairs for disability compensation, comma, right? That's one form. Individual unemployability rating, that's another form. And retroactive pay, which I put on either of those two forms. I put it everywhere I was claiming retroactive pay. And then, so I put that on in 11/16. Well, on 2/12/2019, a simulated legal process under color of law in the form of a rating decision allegedly denying petitioner's claim for individual unemployability rating and retroactive pay was sent to petitioner as mail in an uncanceled postage envelope, an offense of the postal law of the United States. What the hell's all that mean? Well, it means when they sent me my denial, it came in an envelope that looked like this. And, all right, this says pre-sorted first-class mail, postage and fees paid, Veterans Affairs, AAC 30304. That should be their permit number, but this wasn't run through any machine. That's not been canceled. Right? I don't care if it's been paid. It needs to be canceled. And there's nothing on here that, there's no, just look at your mail anymore. They all have barcodes on. There's no barcode on this anywhere. Right? So I'm saying, well, you guys didn't follow the law when you sent this to me. That's mail fraud. Now, the one thing they did was, they did send it to me in my full legal name, Robert Allen Retluski, right at the address that I keep claiming, except for the fact that they didn't put my 8664 zip code. +4. They used a +4, but they didn't give me a +4. It's like, we're dealing in two different jurisdictions here. And this is that transmittal letter that's in the inside. Okay, and eventually you get to the thing that they sent, which was the denial, which says Department of Veterans Affairs, Veterans Benefit Administration, Regional Office. But it doesn't say which regional office. There's, a bunch of them. Detroit's a regional office. That's what it should say for me, Detroit Regional Office. But it doesn't. It just says regional office. And it's for Robert Retluski, not Robert Allen Retluski. Well, you frickin' just mailed it to Robert Allen Retluski. Right? Do you know who I am? But that isn't who the claim was for. And entitlement to individual employability is denied. Evidence, okay. Reason for decision, yeah. Okay, fine. But nowhere on here did anybody sign anything. Right? This is a 3-page denial. But nobody signed it. There's no signature block. It wasn't sent from a particular regional office. It isn't using my full legal name. It is using my Social Security number. That's my property. That's my identification. 374-506794. No, I'm not afraid of anybody stealing it. That's my identification. That authenticates your identification. You want to claim it and tell everybody it's yours. They want to hide the first part so we don't really know what number it is. Oh, no. That's my number. So those are all the, things I was thinking about as I was writing this paper to them, right? That I applied what I applied for. I got a reply on the 12th of February, right? But, I'm not going to say it's a denial, I'm going to say it's a simulated legal process. Under color of law in the form of a ratings decision, allegedly denying petitioner's claim for individual employability rating and directed to pay was sent to petitioner as mail in an uncanceled postage envelope in offense of the postal laws of the United States. That's my complaint. State the reason why the court should grant the petition, including why the petitioner has a clear and undisputed right to the writ and why there are inadequate alternative means to obtain the relief sought. Court should grant petitioner's request or its members risk committing a misprision of felony and other crimes against the United States. That's why they should. Because the alleged ratings decision concealed petitioner's full legal name, Robert Allen Rutluski, was not signed by any officer representing the respondent, does not contain a signature block of the respondent, and was unlawfully mailed. 6 CFR Part 37 mandates use of full legal name for identification in federal official matters. Robert Rutluski is not the full legal name of the petitioner, and the respondent was not named. Robert Allen Rutluski is the owner of Social Security number 374506794, and it authenticates his identification. Remember, this is going into a court, United States court, United States judges, man. This is the time to tell them what you think. Ratings decision was sent to petitioner in an uncanceled postage and fees paid envelope. This window envelope contained a transmittal page viewed through the window addressed to Robert Allen Rutluski, that would be the full legal name of the petitioner, sent by the Department of Veterans Affairs, the 3-page ratings decision, and numerous documents apparently intended to persuade petitioner of the legitimacy of the mailing. This mail could be construed to be fraud and swindle. That would be 18 U.S.C. 1342, and or mail fraud and other crimes against the United States. Ratings decision, right, that's this. That's this thing, rating decision. Does not identify by name any regional office responsible for the rating decision. Does not identify petitioner or respondents as required by federal rule, and evidences that its creators did not conform to Title 38 of the Code of Federal Regulations by denying petitioners extra schedular consideration in accordance with 38 CFR 3.321, 4.16b, 4.17b. If you were to go look those up, you would see that in them sections, if you don't have the percentage necessary to be considered immediately as unemployable, which is like 60% total disability for one disability or something like that, well, then they're supposed to forward it to a council. They got a name for them. Whatever his name is. Somebody in charge. And they don't do that. So, because they didn't do it, they didn't follow the Code of Federal Regulations. So I'm not really appealing. There's nothing for me to appeal because you can't appeal their fraud as a claim. So I can't appeal the claim or the denial because they never denied me. They denied a fictitiously. So 18 U.S.C. 30401, Power of Courts and Magistrates, mandates magistrates of the United States issue warrants of arrest for offenses against the United States at the expense of the United States. Well, these are the reasons that you should give me my relief. Petitioner is a service-related, disabled, honorably discharged veteran of the United States Army, unable to qualify for substantially gainful employment. According to the Department of Veterans Affairs definition, only non-disabled qualify for substantially gainful employment. The petitioner has a permanent service-related disability. I have tendinitis ringing in my ears, 10% disability. Service-related, and it's permanent. As well as related factors meeting the minimal requirement for the needs-based entitlement individual unemployability. Petitioner asked for it to satisfy petitioner's need. Petitioner's claim was not adjudicated by a lawfully constituted review board, as evidenced by a simulated legal process sent by unidentified persons from a non-existent regional office. Petitioner's claim is being suppressed and concealed as part of a scheme to disenfranchise all veterans of the armed forces of the United States from receiving the entitlement due veterans by law. Uncle Sam intended this entitlement for his honest and faithful servants when they asked for it. And any application process is a formality for an entitlement, not a request of a benefit that can be denied. Right? These are entitlements. They're not benefits. You don't get benefits. You get entitlements. You just need to ask for them. It's a need-based entitlement. Go ask. Investigation by the United States Attorney's Office will prove that individuals falsely claiming authority under the United States conceal veterans' full legal name and instead use various John Does, like Rutluski Robert A., Robert Rutluski, Robert A. Rutluski, and then that's the one they use, right? The one I'm complaining about is one that they put on the docket. It's just too good. To conceal the identification of the entitled veteran, making the veteran insecure in his persons, papers, houses, and effects, in offense of the Bill of Rights, facilitating the unjust seizure of his property. Further investigation will prove that the President-elect, members-elect of Congress, and alleged civil officers have filed invalid oath of office that contain an unconstitutional religious test and were sworn and subscribed using a pseudonym to conceal their full legal name. These individuals did not identify themselves and swore falsely. These individuals did not swear and subscribe the oath mandated by an act of Congress to satisfy the 6th Article of the Constitution of the United States, found in an act to regulate the time and manner of administering certain oaths. That would be 1 Stat 23. First law passed in the first Congress after the ratification of the Constitution is here's the oath that's going to satisfy the 6th Article of the Constitution. And everybody has to take it. The several states alleged legislatures, executive, and judicial officers have the same defect. These persons are not the government, should be, of the United States. In fact, they are the United States' enemies, unless they immediately correct their mistakes. Please coerce their immediate compliance or have them arrested. I include an appendix with pertinent parts of the simulated legal process unlawfully mailed to me as part of a scheme to conspire against my rights and commit a larceny upon my property. And that's what this was, right? So I faxed this. You had to put a certificate of mailing, right? Certificate of filing in service. So there it is. United States Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, Robert Allen Rutluski. Hey, that's all the same as it was before. I certify that a copy of the petition in this matter was mailed by priority mail on 3/20/2019 and scheduled for pickup on 3/21/2019. Shipping label receipt is incorporated in the certificate as evidence. Right? This is when you do the click and ship from home. You can get these things like this little piece of receipt and shows that I mailed it. Signed it. And I put in United States Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, Declaration of Financial Hardship. Now pay attention to this one because, I just did what they had on there, basically. So I am the petitioner. I declare my signature below that payment of $50 filing fee required by Rule 3F and 21A of the Court Rules of Practice Procedures would be a financial hardship for me. It would be. Pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1746, I certify under penalty of perjury under the laws of the United States of America that the foregoing is true and correct. And this is how sneaky these little bastards are. Right? Because it does say that under 28 U.S.C. 1746, certifying an unsworn statement. right? But you can clearly say this says United States of America. Well, that's King George's jurisdiction. Then you say, well, how can it be? That's where they're telling you to go. Right? It must be right. That's where they, it was on the form. But if we look at 28 U.S.C. 1746, unsworn declarations under penalty of perjury, there's actually two. If executed without the United States, in other words, out of the United States, then I declare, certify, verify under penalty of perjury under the laws of the United States of America that foregoing is true and correct, right? This is saying I'm not in the United States. And see, it says I declare, but then it has these other forms in here also. And I believe that, and they use certify. And when you go and look at these definitions of these words, right, because they all mean something. Declare, that's when you would say it. I'm saying it right now. I'm declaring things. But if I certify, I'm putting in writing the declaration that I'm doing. So that's why they had to use certify. My point is, if this was being done in the United States, if executed within the United States, its territories, possessions, or commonwealths, I declare, under penalty of perjury, that the foregoing is true and correct. So the court is either saying it's not in the United States, right? So they get the answer for this tomorrow. I was like, why are you having me say that I'm not in the United States? Now, I don't know if the clerk knows there's two parts of 28 U.S.C. 1746, or if this is just the custom. But their custom that they have you follow would, is the same as you giving up your nationality. And I'm not willing to do that. I am in the United States. So this was the original thing that went in, and I've put a few more papers to them that haven't shown up yet, but I do want to show them since we're here, and I'm going to do that in just a second. So hang on just a second. Okay, so what I faxed to the court, right, it's 11 pages altogether, so I had this, they call it a caption page. All right, and then I had my claim, which is just going to be the number of pages it takes you to go 1, 2, 3. Get done with those. And then I included as an appendix, right, because it says put in an appendix things that you're basing it on. So I did. And then I faxed it to them. Oh, and I put on the certificate of filing, right? So, and the certificate of hardship, or declaration of hardship, right? So I got a declaration of hardship, certificate of for mailing or filing and service. The ratings decision denial, the envelope, the petition, and the cover sheet or the caption page. And I faxed them to the fax number at the clerk's office. But then I went in later and saw that if you go on this page here, where it's electronic filing, it says case initiating documents such as notice of appeal or a petition for extraordinary relief may be submitted via email to this email address. So you could do it that way also. And now I have a case, right? 19-1910. And if you search it, right now there's just a petition been put in, right? Case information, only a petition so far. Now you can go in and you can do different types of searches on these different case numbers and stuff, but what I did was, where does it say that? Right, if you take like this notice, declaration of extraordinary relief, and you copy it and you go throw that into Google and see what it brings back. Just a second here. list all these other cases that had notices of docketing for petition extraordinary relief as part of their thing, right? And they gave these numbers. Well, now you could take these numbers and go in and see what they had done in these particular cases. So let's look at 19, 14, 11. Instead, because there's really nothing in mine yet that they can see. 19-1411. Is that right? Yeah, that was right. Right, it showed all these things down here happening, like an appearance was put in for the petitioner, right? So I say, well, I never put one in for me. I should probably do that. So I have sent that to them. The declaration is in there, the appearance, the order. So there was an order. Again, this was, just something that had to do with extraordinary relief, right? That's why I was looking at it, because it met the criteria. Robert Brown petitioned this court to order the secretary to schedule a hearing before decision review officer. He alleges the VA issued a rating decision sometime, right? So that's what he wanted. Ordered that the secretary within 30 days from the date of this order file an answer to Mr. Brown's petition. Right? That's how easy it was done. Joseph L. Toth. That's my judge. Also. Right? So it could be that easy. And then they put in a motion and motion to dismiss the case. And why would they put that in? Petitioner hereby petitions court to dismiss the petition of writ of mandamus because a hearing was held before the decision review officer and him, right? So he got his relief. And so they never actually issued the order, right? They just acted like they would, and they gave him 30 days. So that's an idea of giving Nisi, whatever that was, we looked at the beginning, where it's for some date in the future. And within that time, they can go ahead and do something to satisfy the claim. Well, one thing is, though, that they can also say that you didn't file the rules and not give you extraordinary relief. And since I didn't really go and have mine, I didn't appeal mine through the normal channels, right? So they could say I didn't appeal properly, maybe. Well, that's why I'm asking for arrest warrants also, right? Because I'm saying it was never done as I was never given a decision. I was given a simulated legal process to look like a decision. And that's a fraud. And so I'm bringing a fraud to a judge that has the authority to issue an arrest warrant for an offense against the United States. And that's what I'm saying that they are doing. They're offending the United States. So what I did next was, so that was the facts package. Then I went ahead and I changed this, and I put both sections in there. Right? Because I said, well, I want to make sure I'm covering in the United States and out of the United States. And I'm going to file a notice of appearance. Right? So I just made one up in the United States Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, United States ex rel. Da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. I think I saw that on one of these other appearances. If you go look for, you'll see where appearances were put in by. Did I get rid of that one? Yeah, I did. Here we go. Appearance. Let's look at one. No, that's not the right style. This one I want. This is the one the guy's putting in for the. This is the one I copied. Right? In the United States Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, petitioner, respondent, the number, notice of appearance. The clerk will please enter my appearance. right, for the secretary. Okay, well, that's fine. If he can do it, so can I. But I'm going to say, please enter my appearance as petitioner. I will accept all service of process for petitioner. Right? I'm the petitioner. You're not representing me. Please enter my appearance as petitioner. I want to be entered into the case. And then I sent her a praecipe. Remember I talked about doing it's a he, actually, I believe. Doing a praecipe. That's like an order to the court. And I should show where I got that from. That came out of Styles of Forms. Where was that at? Right here. This is one of those courts, Article 1 courts they're talking about. Superior Court, District of Columbia. I love this one. See, this one says United States. Clearly says United States. Doesn't say the United States of America. Or doesn't say United States of America. Right? It says United States. I'm going to show you some other styles that I've found, and, we need to keep that in mind, is which one are they talking about. But this was a praecipe, and it says, the clerk of the court will please enter my appearance for the defendant in the above entitled cause this day of something, yada, yada, yada. Right? So a praecipe is a request upon the clerk to do something. So, they're called praecipes. Now, they don't say praecipe on this, but when you look it up online, it says it's a praecipe. Okay, so I'm going to call it a praecipe. Right, so this is a praecipe going to the clerk. Request clerk file attached exhibits of evidence for case 19-1910 with court, including pages H712 to H714 of the Congressional Record of the House, January 17, 2019. An act to regulate time and manner of administering certain oaths, 1 Stat 23, 6 CFR, Part 37, Real ID, driver's license identification cards, and 8 USC 1481, loss of nationality by native born and naturalized citizens. Clerk of the court, please file the attached excerpt of the Congressional Record, House, for January 17, 2019, 1 Stat 23 and 6 CFR Part 37 as proof and evidence that the alleged members elect of the United States Congress, House of Representatives, swore foreign allegiance under false name and unconstitutional oath, and in accordance with 8 USC 1481 have relinquished their nationality. And make court aware that you are the second witness to acts of treason of the accused requiring the immediate arrest of these belligerents. In other words, if you were to go and look at January 17, 2019, Congressional Record for the House, pages H712 to H714, you would see that after they had adjourned for the day, somebody pretended, by simulated legal process, to file oaths of office members, resident commissioners, and delegates, in which they said the oath of office required by the 6th Article of the Constitution of the United States and as provided by Section 2 of the Act of May 13, 1884, 23 Stat 22, to be administered to members, delegates, House, the text of which is carried in 5 U.S.C. 3331, where it says, I state your name, you solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office for which I am about to enter. So help me God. Putting so help me God just invalidated the oath for satisfying the 6th Article of the Constitution, because the 6th Article of the Constitution says you can't have a religious test. And it says IAB, I state your name. Right? So what's your name? Well, for this to be legal, an official, you need to use your full legal name. That's what federal law says. And as we look at these people, they're not using their full legal name. Right? Nobody has a J for middle or B, a middle initial in their name. It's not allowed under 6 CFR Part 37. People are using nicknames like Tom, or his name is probably Thomas. He probably has a middle name. So forth and so on. So, none of these people have taken a valid oath of office. And so none of these people are in Congress. They're just pretending to be. Well, what they've done is they've committed a treason against the United States because they're pretending to have authority under the United States, taking an invalid oath of office in a fictitious name. On and on and on. Right? The laws of the United States. Acts of the First Congress of the United States. Be an act to regulate the time and manner of administering certain oaths. Be it enacted by the Senate and representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that the oath or affirmation required by the 6th article of the Constitution of the United States shall be administered in the form following, to wit, I, A, B, do solemnly swear or affirm, as case may be, I will support the Constitution of the United States, period. That's the oath. You didn't take that, without the parentheses in there, so it was fitting you, then you didn't satisfy the 6th article of the Constitution. And all that other mumbo-jumbo that you did is an invalid oath of office to satisfy your office. Now, this is, 6 CFR Part 37, Real ID, Driver's License, and Identification Cards, where it says applicability. Subparts A through E of this part apply to states and U.S. territories that choose to issue driver's licenses and identification cards that can be accepted by federal agencies for official purposes. And it goes on to define what that is, as using your full legal name means an individual's first name, middle names, and last name or surname without use of initials or nicknames. So if they're not using their full legal name, or they're not using your full legal name, and it's supposed to be official, federal matter, which it would be dealing with the veterans in a U.S. Court of Appeals, well then, somebody's lying. Right? Somebody's offending the laws of the United States. And so I'm not allowing them to do that. I'm claiming my rights. Petition a right. And finally, in Title 8, 1481, loss of nationality by native-born or naturalized citizen, voluntary action, burden of proof, presumptions. A person who is a national of the United States, whether by birth or naturalization, shall lose his nationality by voluntarily performing any of the following acts with the intention of relinquishing United States nationality. Right? Taking an oath or making affirmation to or other formal declaration of allegiance to a foreign state or political subdivision thereof, and after having attained the age of 18 years of age. Well, one of those things is, if you're naturalized here, and you look at your naturalization certificate, it says at the top that it's the United States of America, just like money does, right? That's who's certifying this. That's the Republic, the thing created under the Articles of Confederation, where it says in the first article, the style of Confederacy shall be the United States of America. Well, in there, it says that, at the end of it, that you are now a lowercase citizen of the, without the T being capitalized, of United States of America. King George's jurisdiction. They're saying you volunteered to go to King George. You were in the United States of America, but you left and you went to the United States of America. So you gave up your nationality in the United States. And these people taking an invalid oath, well, to me, that's the same thing. Right? They didn't take the oath they're supposed to, but they did take an oath, and they swore to God, and they used a fictitious name, well, that must be for a different venue than it isn't in the United States, and therefore they gave up their nationality. So that's why I'm trying to play it all the way to the end with a United States judge. All right, through the United States Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims. And if they deny my claim, well, then I can appeal it to the what is the name of that court? United States Court for Armed Forces or something like that. Yeah. This one. United States Court of Appeals for Armed Forces, which is actually, it's located, what is this address? Is that here? It's called like Judiciary Row or Judiciary Park or something like that, and it's this used to be the Court of Appeals. United States Courthouse, United States Court of Appeals for Armed Forces, 430 East Street Northwest, and right next door to the left, let me put that in there, 430 East Street. It's interesting to look at, 430 E Street, District of Columbia. This building here Papers, come on now. This building directly ahead is the old City Hall in the District of Columbia. And that's where the Superior Court for the District of Columbia sits. And it's flanked by these two other buildings. Right, now what park is this? It's taking a while to load. It's a National Law Enforcement Officer Memorial. That's what that is. All right, so this building here is the old City Hall. You can see they put this monstrous thing on it, which is Moore Court, with another entrance on the other street. This is the United States Court of Appeals for Veterans Affairs, or no, for Armed Forces. And this has got all sorts of specialty courts for the District of Columbia in them. Or actually this one. That one does. That's Penn Quarter. Here we go around the back. I can't do it right now. I'm trying to get in here. District of Columbia Court. I think this is the Court of Appeals here on the back side. This has got a statue of Lincoln in the back. So I'm not sure that they're the same court. There may be two courts actually in the same building using different addresses because they're on two different roads. Something like that. So anyways, you know, if need be, I'll take it to this court right here. Which is that building. That's the one that's the Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces. So very cool. That's what I know. We'll have to see what happens. Superior Court for the District of Columbia. That's the one that's in the old City Hall for the District of Columbia, which says that the United States and the District of Columbia, right, are the plaintiffs in, because this is for the criminal division. This is one of the places I was going to go try to get a arrest warrant issued. Right? That's why I had them up. But because I put the thing in the veterans, I decided, well, they're a United States judge also. And according to 18 USC 3041, well, they need to issue an arrest warrant. Right? Because they have the authority. The Supreme Court and all courts established by act of Congress may issue all writs necessary or appropriate in aid of their respective jurisdictions, right? And agreeable to the usages and principles of law. Well, one of those would be for an offense against the United States, the offender may, by any justice or judge of the United States, right, be arrested. So regardless if they're going to give me my claim or not for my disability, they had better arrest somebody or they're not following the law. And we'll bring in the other courts into play, which, where are they at? Here, get rid of some of this stuff. We're almost done here, but because I have the window open. All right, some people may not want to do this. I'm going to go to the JAG site in the Army military. And they say, oh, not secure, don't go in. That's okay with me. I'm okay there knowing that Rob Ryder showed up to take a look at the United States Army Judge Advocate General's corpse page in the different courts that it serves, like the U.S. Army Trial Judiciary, the U.S. Army Court of Criminal Appeals, U.S. Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces, and the United States Supreme Court. Well, this U.S. Army Trial Judiciary and this U.S. Army Court of Criminal Appeals, I believe that these are both courts with military judges. But the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces is a court with civil judges, right? Non-military judges. But I would think that anybody, right? So anybody can put a complaint in. If you're in the military, I'm trying to just point out, people, we need to put in some complaints that these fucktards sitting over there pretending to be holding an office aren't holding an office, and we're not going to go fight and die for them. Right? They lie, they cheat, they steal. They need to be arrested. They need to be kicked out of the District of Columbia. Because there are a bunch of stones go around that place that say on the side that's facing District of Columbia, jurisdiction of the United States. And all these people say they're in the United States of America. Well, then they need to leave. This all ties into why they gave the land back to the Virginia, because, they gave the land back to the landowner. Well, that was the King of England. That was his land. Go read the treaties. Still his land. He had a claim on it. Well, now you just, there is no southern border to the United States. They crossed the water and invaded us. Just like, Washington crossing the Delaware. And so the United States of America has invaded the United States and taken over the capital. And these are all belligerents of the United States. They're all domestic terrorists. They all need to be arrested and put in a FEMA camp. Hold some hearings and figure out what to do with them. But, get them out before they destroy us all. That's their intention. They're working for the devil. And they all took a false oath of office, and I don't care what their excuse is. That's enough. I took one. You took one if you're in the military. Full legal name. These people didn't. They have something to answer for. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Y'all have a great day, and we'll see what happens this week. But the United States Appeals Court for Veterans Affairs, or for Veterans Claims, 19, all right, United States Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, 19-1910. You keep an eye on it, see what happens. The great thing is, if they don't even, if they were to deny me, I could just file another one. I'll just keep filing until I get until I get what I want, because I can do it for free. And hey, they put it in, so I think I can get it put another one in. Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day. See you. Bye.